What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today I have a quick video for you guys. Wanted to talk about Paolo Banchero and Chet Holmgren as they had a huge matchup this past Thanksgiving weekend. It's not very often in college basketball that you get a potential matchup between the first and second overall draft pick in this year's draft, especially this early in the season. Normally that's something that could potentially happen in the NCAA tournament, but it happened early in this season. It was a huge matchup between the two individuals as well as the teams in general, as it looks like Duke and Gonzaga look to be two of the better teams this year in college basketball and could be a potential preview of something to come, in the Final Four, potential NCAA championship. And so, huge matchup between the two players, two programs. Wanted to talk about how Chet and Paolo fared against each other, who came out on top between the matchup, and just how this matchup could affect their draft stock moving forward. So I'm going to get into that in today's video. Before I do, I just wanted to say, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of the two players, how the game went, what you thought of them, and who you right now have going first overall. And so with that being said, let's get into the video. So obviously this was a huge matchup between Paolo and Chet. It was their first chance to play against each other at the college level, and it could potentially be the only time they do play against each other in college. And so it was big for each player to really put themselves against each other, see where they stack up, and have potential bragging rights in being the player, put at the spot of being the first overall draft pick early in the college basketball season. And so in terms of how the game went, I think most people would come away from the game saying that Paolo got the better of Chet. Paolo had a great game, especially in the first half. He had overall for the game 21 points, 5 rebounds, with 20 of those points coming in the first half. And so if you didn't watch the game, he was dealing with cramping issues in the second half, and so was really limited there, missed a ton of time, wasn't playing with the same aggressiveness or assertiveness that he played in the first half. But he made a statement that first half, 20 points, and they came in a variety of ways. He was knocking down transition threes, pull-up threes, getting to his mid-range spots, putting his big body to use and big body in Chet a couple times in the paint, and just overall looked like someone who could come into the NBA at that moment and be someone who could be an impact player. And so it was a really impressive showing for Paolo. I think he definitely made a statement that he wants to be the first overall pick. And at that moment, you could easily make the argument that he should be the first overall pick coming out of that game. Now, as far as Chet and how he played, he had an interesting game. Statistic-wise, I would actually argue that it's hard to say that Paolo had a better game than Chet. Chet had 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and he was his typical self on the defensive side of the ball, where he was just a huge presence. He was affecting a lot of shots, necessarily wasn't blocking a lot, but he was a big body in the paint, and he made guards think twice about coming in the paint, and just overall was someone who could affect the game on that end of the floor without touching the ball or necessarily getting into the box score. Now, as far as 16 and 7 goes, it was about as quiet of a 16 points as you could get. Now, he only had 4 points at the end of the first half, so 12 points in the second half in a close game. That's exactly what you want out of a potential #1 pick and just one of your better overall players on Gonzaga. And he did good statistic-wise in the second half, but out of those 12 points he had the second half, a couple of them came off of nice inbounds plays that Gonzaga ran under their hoop, got a couple dunks that ways, a couple putbacks, and just really everything was quiet. It was within the offense. It wasn't any off the dribble threes. It wasn't bringing the ball up the court and going between his legs behind the back type plays. It wasn't anything impressive like that. It was just, like I said, kind of within the offense and a really quiet overall 16 points and 12 points in the second half. So in terms of the head-to-head matchup and who actually won that, I would guess you would have to say it would have been Paolo with how he got his 20 points in the first half. It was a really loud 20 points, and he did it in impressive fashion. Like I said, it was pull-up threes off the dribble. It was hitting threes in transition. It was using his handle to get to the mid-range area. It was using his big body and his strength in the paint to just overpower players. It was a really impressive 20 points. And it's hard to say exactly how he would have fared in the second half. If he wasn't dealing with those cramping issues, if he went for another 20 points? Would Gonzaga have adjusted to him at halftime, adjusted their matchups, how they were defending him, and slowed him down? It's hard to say, but I think he did what he had to do in that first half to really make the statement. But I also think it says something about Chet in terms of he had a quiet 16, 7, and 3. I mean, if he averaged that for the season, that would be the type of stat line that would get you picked first overall, especially with the skill set that we all know that Chet has. And so I think it says something about Chet that he's able to have a quiet game like that and still have a very impressive statistical night. I just think that with how Paolo got those points in his 20 points in the first half, I think it's hard to argue that he didn't have the better overall night compared to Chet. And in terms of how this affects draft stock, or if this solidifies anything in terms of someone going number 1 or number 2 or where they fall in the draft, it has some implications. It was good to see them play head to head, as it could be the only time we see them play head to head this year. But that is such a fluid situation, and things are going to change so many times from now in November till March and April when the college basketball season ends, and even into pre-draft workouts and things of that nature. I just think it's going to change 100 times. As of now, I guess you could slate Paolo in as the number 1 player and Chet as number 2, number 3, wherever you have them falling in the draft. But like I said, I think this is something that's going to change 100 times from now till then. I mean, just the other day, Chet against UCLA looked really impressive. He had a couple highlight plays where he was handling the ball, going behind the back, dunking the ball, whatever, and everyone was freaking out on Twitter, and scouts were praising him then, saying that's why he's the number 1 overall pick. That's why, people have the vision of him playing in the NBA like that. And so that was just earlier in the week. And now after watching him play against Paolo, now it's Paolo's the clear number 1 overall pick. And so I just think it's a fluid situation. It's going to change 100 times from now till then. But it is what it is. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys later.